As the Federal Reserve's campaign against inflation grinds on, the economic crosscurrents are becoming more treacherous to navigate. On one side, the decline in consumer prices from last year's hair-raising peaks provides some solace that the central bank's harsh medicine is working. But on the other, mounting signs of softness in the labor market are raising anxiety about a potential overshoot that could unnecessarily imperil jobs and family livelihoods. In his semi-annual testimony on Capitol Hill this week, Fed Chair Jerome Powell struck a cautionary tone, eschewing any hints of an imminent pivot toward interest rate cuts that bullish investors have been breathlessly anticipating. Elevated inflation is not the only risk we face, Powell remarked, nodding to the cooling employment landscape evident in recent data releases. His measured words belie a stark reality. The once blazing hot job market has started losing its sizzle. The unemployment rate has ticked up for 3 months straight, with over 800,000 more Americans classified as jobless compared to March. More disconcertingly, the pool of long-term unemployed unable to find work for over 15 weeks surged to the highest levels since early 2022 when that measure was rapidly retreating. While nowhere near recessionary territory yet, these labor market tremors are forcing the Fed to confront dueling economic ailments. Ease up too soon on the inflation fight, and they risk squandering hard-won progress that could allow price pressures to re-intensify. But maintain an unnecessarily restrictive policy stance, and the pain could needlessly spill over into widespread job losses and shattered household finances. It's a delicate balancing act, Claudia Somm, chief economist at advisory firm New Century Advisors, told me. The alarm bells aren't sounding right now on the jobs front, but you are certainly pointed in that direction if these trends persist. With his trademark judiciousness, Powell sought to thread that needle, validating the emerging concerns around employment, while reaffirming the Fed's steadfast commitment to re-anchoring inflation back to the 2% target. He emphasized that more good data showing sustained disinflation is needed before any thought of lowering rates from their current peaks can be entertained. But Democrats were quick to apply the pressure, warning of the economic risks from delaying that pivot as joblessness ticks up. Housing costs remain elevated, and manufacturing softens. Republicans largely held their fire, a tacit signal that the party's pro-business wing recognizes the imperative of locking in the inflation win. Amid the heated rhetoric on both sides of the aisle, Powell offered the grounded perspective that has come to define his tenure at the central bank's helm. When pressed on a contentious proposal to raise capital requirements for the nation's megabanks, he matter-of-factly relayed that regulators are working to address the widespread criticisms through revisions, which would then be opened for public feedback before finalization. It was a brief reprieve of technocratic sobriety in an otherwise charged hearing room, where the stakes couldn't be higher, curbing the inflation scourge while averting a punishing spiral of job losses that could leave economic wreckage in its wake. For Powell and his Fed colleagues, that path forward only seems to be narrowing. As I departed the marbled halls of the Rayburn office building, I couldn't shake a sense of foreboding about the dilemmas that lie ahead for our economic stewards. The labor market's gradual cooldown may be an unavoidable consequence of defeating inflation. But if that controlled burn rages out of control, the path to a soft landing could quickly dissolve into something more destructive, a scar on working families that will fester for years. It's a worrying scenario that demands deft governance and deft public communication of the turbulent policy decisions that await. If those twin tasks prove too daunting, the labor market could fall victim to the age-old affliction, the cure that inadvertently exceeds the disease it was meant to treat.